Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. And also keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Lastly, I'll be looking at the comments and responding for the next 3 hours after this video is released. If you want to chat, but you couldn't get your comment in within that time frame, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. I'll put that in the description below, or email me. Thanks. Hey everyone, Dan here. We're about an hour and a half after market close on Wednesday, August 4th. We're going to take our daily look at SoFi, and let's hop right in. So SoFi had a great day today, up about 8.5% on really excellent buy volume, coming in about 25.5 million that you see there. Well outpacing the sell volume that we saw yesterday when there was a bunch of folks sort of getting ready to jump ship, or maybe a bunch of folks who had jumped ship, and I definitely understand why folks would be taking that course of action. But we see the volume coming up today. So volume has been coming up for the last 4 trading days, and just one of those trading days being red. So to the degree to which this is kind of riding the tailwinds of the success that Robinhood Markets is having in their IPO and their market debut, I'm all for it. And not just because it's driving the stock price up, but with the increase in volume, the buy volume that we're seeing, that is super important to just bring additional people into the fold, to get folks interested in SoFi, and then maybe they take some additional steps to see what it is, to see what the potential is, to see if they buy into the potential for something huge down the line here, and maybe they become a big proponent of SoFi, maybe they become a member, maybe they become a consistent investor and sort of help spread the word. So to me, those sort of bring additional folks under the umbrella in whatever form that takes, and in this case, Robinhood being whatever, but if it's drawing folks in, it's drawing folks in, and I think that it's a great thing, and that will at least give SoFi an opportunity to prove itself to a marketplace that is somewhat paying attention to it. Okay, and so we see today, now a couple of interesting things happen. Now if you look at this chart that we've been watching on the daily, we've been watching this purple bounce zone, which down here stretches from 1498 down to 1470, and then we have that 1465 zone right underneath. Now realize any of these that I have lines across on, you can see on the right hand side what that price target is. Now the only ones where I don't have that is the purple, which I just described. The red here stretches 1574 down to 1572, and this white topping out, danger zone goes from 1632 down to 1619. Okay, so those are the zones that we're sort of that are most prescient to us at the moment. So yesterday we saw this catastrophic fall below the red area, which is what I had been warning about. And then what I had also said, if you just go back and listen, is that if it can make another attempt at these areas, it might blow through them because it may have consumed all of the selling pressure that we had seen there. I said that about the white box zone, and I also said that about if we have the ability to regain this red zone. Also, we have such a tendency to fall very quickly through the red zone that there's the equal potential for us to blast through the red zone to the upside. So that's what we saw. Now, the really interesting thing to me is we've been tracking this uptrend, this green uptrend line. And it's green because to me, that is where money unlocks. Again, it's 1791 up here, another green zone, because to me, that could be where money unlocks. There could be a bunch of folks waiting for SoFi to show enough price strength and potential to be able to make a run at 18 that they're jumping in once it shows that price strength. There's a lot of folks out there, I think, that aren't just waiting for the next dip buy. They're not just waiting for it to hit 14 or 10 or 12 or whatever you're seeing on the threads. I think there's a lot of smart investors waiting for it to show price strength and approach or get support at around 18 and then come in. That's why that area is green there. So it pierced through completely this white zone. So fantastic showing. And then it even made an attempt to gain support over that green uptrend line. Now, it wasn't able to hold it, so it's pressed right up against it right now. This tells me a couple of things. One, we're as primed and able as we have ever been in order to get support over this 1664 area right here, which allows us to take that run at 18. Also, this increasing volume and having 3 green days of increasing volume in the last 4 is a really, really good sign. Now, retail can be fleeting and they can be impatient and they can be a lot of things. And so I don't discount the idea that they could jet from SoFi as quickly or even more quickly than they rushed into SoFi. So I don't discount that either. But, to me, this is the best opportunity in order to make a significant change here, because you couple this with the fact that these indicators are still looking very strong. So now this MACD is starting to gain for like more and more real estate between itself and the signal line, and that is just increasing the momentum. And this bearish momentum that has recently died down, we could put that as a thing of the past for good. I felt yesterday we were still in quite a danger zone because we were just kind of sort of sitting on a shelf here with this histogram. Today stretching above, but you have to realize, and this is the cautionary tale that I will tell, it's going to take additional days like this. We're going to have to keep this volume really, really high, and the buy volume obviously very, very high if we're going to keep stretching this up. You see how much of a gargantuan effort it takes to keep the train moving, and I think that that's sort of what we've lost sight of in this vast scheme of things, where we get overly excited about one green day. It takes so much to sustain that. But if we can start to break some of these patterns, if you see, we have started to break patterns. We used to get a green day followed by several red days, a green day followed by a bigger red day, and then a couple of green days here, but followed again by several red days. So now that we're stringing together 1, 2, 3, 4 in the last 6 daily green candles, we have, like I say, an opportunity to really start to reverse trend, and the MACD is just an additional indication of that. RSI, this is where it gets really interesting to me. RSI finally making an attempt at the midline. I've been talking for days, maybe weeks, about needing to see what SoFi is going to do when it gets to that midline. So tomorrow, if there's some buy pressure, we should sort of see what happens at that midline. Is it going to be able to establish over the midline and make a run at overboughts, or will it get suppressed down? And for the time being, it's making a bunch of higher highs. It's like 3 higher highs. And so if it can maintain that, that is obviously a big boon in the cap of the bulls. On the MA side of things, we're still in a bearish formation, but I mean, look what we're trying to claw back from, right? This is just a little bit of a scoop at the bottom of a big down handle. So still just kind of like in this range, this consolidation range that we're talking about between 1465 and 1791. We're still just bouncing. Even then, we're really bouncing between 1465 and 1664. So there's a lot still to be done, but it all has to start somewhere. And like I say, this is our best opportunity. All right, so that's what I see on the chart. I don't think that there's really much to talk about other than that. It needs to maintain the buy volume. You see it already coming, trying to curl back into this white box on the 5 minutes, and it needs to just keep pressing off of there. That 1664 support would be really powerful. So if that can come into play in the next couple of days, if it can continue to push up against that upper trend line even, that will eventually run it into the 1664. I don't think that it's the greatest situation if it has to reach it that way, but that's one way to get there that doesn't require this sort of like wildly parabolic movement like we saw today. Now, let's hop over to Ortex, take a quick look, a quick sanity check. So we have 82% potential return now based on the analyst consensus price. Now, I saw this come in. I don't know what Benzinga is talking about. It wouldn't be the first time that I've uttered that sentence, though. I don't know what Benzinga is talking about. Okay, so this part I get. Sympathy with Robinhood, blah, 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 blah. Maybe subject to a short squeeze with over 18% of shares held being short. Shares are up 8.3. Okay, so I try to track down what in the world they're talking about here. because I think it's really dangerous for folks to get overly caught up in the idea that there's short squeezes everywhere, just because if that doesn't play out, then folks just kind of leave, and that's what they were there for. Whereas I would like to see folks being here for SoFi and or being here just because they want to be part of the fintech run-up that they're seeing being boosted by Hood. And if that's the case, then that's fine. They may find sort of ways that they fall in love with SoFi or become more interested in SoFi, like I said. But if they come in and they're expecting this short squeeze and there's just not a reality to that, then I think that that risks a portion of that buy population to just jet because there is no squeeze that plays out. And if we look at Ortex here, they're estimating today a huge downturn in shorts. So that's great to see because we don't have a lot of short pressure, but it's just a little over 1% that they're estimating that's being shorted. And even then, the exchange reported short interest from the last report that was provided was 11 million, and that jumped down 56%. Estimated short interest of the float, again, this is yeah. Anyway, I don't have to read these numbers to you. The utilization is very low. Cost to borrow is very low. These are very low. Where I think Benzinga got that from, and the only place that I find this number, is on FinViz. And FinViz has historically, if you've seen any of my other videos, they're like up until this changed to 18, they had this at 41% or something like that. But they are completely an outlier. I cannot find this supported anywhere else. I looked and looked and looked and looked. If you know where else you can find this information and corroborate it, please feel free to drop that in the comments. But, they are jumping on this, and I just don't think that there's any truth to it. So let me just say that for the record. So I hope that there aren't a bunch of folks coming in that are just going to bounce out when they realize that there isn't a short squeeze to effectuate here. And articles like that are really unfortunate. Okay, so that's what I have for the chart. That's what I have for the data. Now let's jump into today's additional info. Now this is part one. There's going to be 2 parts. I didn't mean for there to be 2 parts, but it became so lengthy. And I know that already just doing the charts is lengthy enough. Though, if you look, I just got that chart and data stuff in about 10 minutes. So, for all of you that complain about the length, but don't just watch it on 2x speed, which I think is the answer there, that's what you should do. Just realize I just got that in very, very close to 10 minutes. Okay, so I'm kind of joking there. But I want to talk about how weird everything around SoFi has become. I think that we get so close to it and we bathe in it, and it can be hard to step back and be like, wait. What is happening here? What's been going on? Who's been saying what? What are all of the sort of rumors that are flying around? What's been coming our way that's been driving people in and out and stringing people along and making people like really reticent? And so I wanted to get some of those things down. And like I said, I started to go and I got so far in and I was like, I have probably half a dozen other topics that I haven't even started to take screenshots of or accumulate yet. And so I'm going to have to do a part 2. And if I get into that and it gets long, I'm going to have to do a part 3. Well, let's jump in. And I just want us to sort of retrace our steps and see how we got where we are today and what the weird bathwater that we're swimming in is. Okay. So the rise and the fall of the FTDs. So the fails to deliver. If you recall, right around here when the lockup was ending. Now, if this is because the lockup was ending and that there's a legitimate reason why there would be a bunch of fails to deliver because of the transition from folks who had shares or options that they then exercised from inside SoFi, or folks who are pipe investors, what have you, if there is some challenge there on the back end that occurs that contributes to a huge number of FTDs, that could be certainly a bunch of legitimate things happening. But this trend that we see here that started in mid-June and then peaked out, like I said, right when the lockup ended, that's nearly 10 million. Now, this is a cumulative number, so keep this in mind. This isn't that on that day 10 million shares were failed to deliver. It was these kept accumulating. Day over day. Now, they did then get corrected, right? So a big fall here, but definitely some sort of weird things are going on that contribute to that sort of accumulation over the course of a couple weeks to such a high number. Then, if we look at what's going on in the dark pools, if we look here, the week of June 28th, so again, that same week, dark pool, the non-ATS, and if you have no idea what I'm saying right now, just go back to my SoFi video. I did a whole video just on SoFi and the dark pools. It's called something like that, SoFi and the dark pools. But if you just search for that on my channel, you'll find it. But on the non-ATS dark pool, well, ATS is alternative trading system, which we call dark pool. So anyway, I talk there about what non-ATS and ATS is. But anyway, non-ATS, over 75 million total shares traded in the week of June 28th, in a week. Now you add that to the ATS, which traded, whoop, how did that happen? That traded almost 22.5 million that same week, okay? And now, while that was happening in the dark pools, on the public market, we saw this happening. June 28th. This is the week of June 28th, right? Week of June 28th, week of June 28th. This is the volume on the right-hand side here. So we add that up, that you see right here, and we get almost 187 million. Now, if you go back here and you add up 75, 22, and some change there, 75, 22, and some change, you get almost 98 million. So what that means is there was more than 52% dark pool volume of this volume. Now, this isn't a cumulative number of this plus this and then 52, but of this number here, this is 52% of that. Okay, so a huge amount of trades happening in the dark pool that just don't impact the public market. And what those are, and you can see this if you go back to my dark pool videos, if you look at the details of these, you don't see exactly what these transactions were. So you just know that these are the total shares and that it was effectuated over this many trades and during this week. So just keep in mind, this 52% is a little bit of a wonky number. Again, just because I didn't add the 186 plus the 97 and then take the 97 as a fraction of that. But this is just to say 97 is over 52% of this 186. That makes sense. All right. In the meantime, what has investor relations been up to? So as everyone was sort of like dealing with the dark pools and dealing with the FTDs and all of the excitement around the transition period and the merger finally happening, investor relations started to answer folks in a manner like this. And they talked about, certain large stockholders, directors, blah, 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 blah. Okay, lockup, which is exhibited. Okay, so they're just pointing you back to the documents that everyone had been sort of, complaining about, trying to work themselves through, but they just copy paste it here. So they don't really, in my opinion, take any extra step to clarify. They're just like copy pasting the thing that somebody had already sent them an email about to say, hey, can you clarify this? And the only reasonably decent thing about this response is this expiration of June 27th. That's somewhat helpful, lines up very strongly to the volume that we saw at that time. And then, in my case, I sent them this on July 23rd. They opened this over 10 times and never responded to me. I know you can't see it here, but this basically just says there's a lot of confusion along whether or not the requirements for the aggregate of 83% of locked up shares was sufficed. Some are saying end of June, some are saying end of July. SEC documents are causing a lot of confusion. Could you shed some light? Yada, yada, yada. No response from that. So it's been a couple of weeks since I first sent that. Yeah. And then on July 27th, so 4 days later, I thought that was a reasonable time frame for whatever reason. They opened this 5 times. So at this point, though, the nice thing was we were past this questionable date of 30 trading days after, or I guess 20 trading days after, since it would be in a 30-day trading period. As soon as you reach 20, you reach 20. But anyway, I thought it gave me an opportunity to say, hey, could you answer that first question that I asked? Plus, if this was the 20th trading day that we've traded over 1250 or 15, could you just confirm if there was an additional unlock that happened today? And if so, cool. So they proceeded to open that 5 times and again, never respond to me. And then and then just yesterday, I sent this again, and this we'll get into tomorrow. This came from a commenter that we've talked about before, Josh. He had mentioned this in the comments, so I thought it would be a good thing to tack on to my third request for a response from SoFi Investor Relations. And they opened it 3 times and still have not responded to me at all. So, there you go. There's my experience with investor relations. So again, if you just look at the weird world of what's happening, there's all of this lockup confusion. There's FTDs flying all over the place and just growing to a huge number. There's all of this dark pool activity happening at a time when there's a huge bump in the retail market and the public market volume coming up, but still dark pool is consuming a ton of that. And then investor relations is doing stuff like this. So I ask and ask and ask, and I got nothing. So for whatever reason, they do not like me, and I don't know why. But some insiders did find the time to send me some info. So ex-SoFi employee, send clarification. I've gone through all of this stuff before, so I don't want to just read it, but this is from someone who says that they're an ex-employee. I don't know any of these people, like I said, so please just know that I'm taking these people at their word. But just know that that's the case. I was an early investor in SoFi. Okay, so we have employee, investor. They're sort of pointing to a lot of the same things, but at least they are, if they're telling me the truth about who they are, like thankfully they're doing some of the work for investor relations in some way, shape, or form. At least they're sending some real info, if that's the case. And in the meantime, what's going on in the world of SoFi? While investor relations is not seemingly doing much of anything to clear up anything for people, like the one source of truth that I think could actually provide info and actually just sort of like set things straight, they just end up doing this. Anyway, in the meantime, we have this influencer. I don't know this person. I only know of him because of his relationship with SoFi. They are clearly paying him, contracting him, whatever, to influence folks to use SoFi. And he's coming with these weird messages about the lawyers won't let me say what we have planned for later this week, but I would highly suggest everyone gets a SoFi account. You're going to need one. Okay. And then, was it just because of this? So you need to have the SoFi app. So you download it there again at his link. Tweet a screenshot of your account, tag at SoFi and this hashtag, and then they're giving away $1,000 to 5 people. As far as I know, but I mean, again, drop a comment if there was some great news that he was like pumping here and I just missed it. But from what I can tell, I guess this is this. I don't know. I don't know. But to me, it's kind of like a big womp womp, because at the same time that was happening, look at here, July 26th, July 27th, stuff like this starts to fly. SoFi is partnering with Gemini. An announcement is coming in a few weeks. I have no position personally because of the creamer curse. So within a day, we get these things happening. Lawyers won't let me say. This is like some, well, I won't say it because I don't know if I'll get picked up by the algos, but this is some conspiracy stuff. And so you couple it with this, and people just start going like, what is happening? Could this be something amazing? Could this be phenomenal? Investor relations, where are you? Help us. Help us understand what's happening. Oh, but why would we think anything about Gemini? Just because of this person? No. Federal Reserve documents. Again, this is in a previous video. Thank you to the Redditor who did the work to unravel all of this. But this person initially found this, SoFi Technologies and Gemini Merger Sub Inc. Now at this point, and I think I have this in a slide in a couple minutes, I think Gemini Merger Sub is definitely not Gemini, the crypto platform. But I mean, just see how these things just kind of all line up to make this a crazy, crazy situation. He sends out this nonsense cryptic tweet, which again, I guess was just about this. So come on. This is just clickbaity stuff. And then this person, whoever this person is, I don't know, a day later comes out with this, and then this person picks up that there is actually a filing. This was like the only legit thing that happened, is this person who picked up on the filing where Gemini merger sub shows up in Federal Reserve docs that were updated that didn't previously have. It had like all of this information that you see here, but not the Gemini merger sub part. So then it starts to seem like, oh, maybe there is something to this. Maybe this is that Gemini. And again, why would we think that? Because of this really silly cryptic tweet. Investor relations, can you help us understand what's going on? Well, I was sent this, and we'll quickly go through it. You can pause it and read it if you want, but we'll go look at what this person is talking about in a minute. But it's interesting, the reply they gave me. So he's talking about SoFi investor relations, saying Gemini is a merger subsidiary, is kind of like responding at the NFL is a football league. If I asked what the NFL was, just weird, something so innocuous would get sent to Robert and then Deanna. Robert is the general counsel of SoFi, so it's not just investor relations responding. Deanna we'll see in a second. I feel like IR could have just replied, honestly, I don't think there's anything more to the Gemini merger story. This is what we just said. At least based on the pomp guy on Twitter and various hints alluding to things at SoFi. I don't know if he's saying there, or this person's saying like what I was just saying, where that cryptic, weird lawyer tweet was really just about this stupid $1,000 giveaway. But it just happened to coincide when all this Gemini rumor was happening, or maybe that's what they're saying here. I'm not sure, but very, very ironic coincidence that it was named Gemini, so the Gemini merger sub. Feel free to share this info, blah, blah, blah. So thanks for the person who sent their reply. I hid their name there because I didn't know if they would want it or not. But this comes from Deanna Smith at SoFi. Gemini. So this person wrote and asked, can you tell me what Gemini merger sub Inc. is? And Deanna Smith, who's the vice president, associate general counsel of a publicly traded company, SoFi, responded to that request to investor relations with Gemini is a merger subsidiary. So, investor relations, what is going on? What is happening? Is one of the 15 or 20 times that my email has been opened and not responded to, has that been passed through to Deanna and to Robert as well, because it's such a crazy request that I'm putting through that there's just not somebody who's skilled enough at investor relations to answer the question? I mean, this is just nuts. And this is, I'm not wanting to sound super down on SoFi because, again, I've mentioned this in the past. I was in very, very early at a startup, pre-Series A, that then went public. I stayed with them through, I think, Series D. So I saw huge growth, and then they went public. And I know how messy and how messy things can be, yet while people are working so hard. So I'm not meaning to take just a cheap shot at SoFi here. But what I will say is they have this grand vision. And I've been talking about buying into the grand vision. And if they can effectuate the change that they are proposing to want to make, that's where the potential for a huge return on investment comes from. That's where the potential for an incredibly valuable company comes from. So maybe I'm drawing a bad correlation here, but when they can't even get something like this right, it makes me a bit concerned. It puts up my alarm bells, puts up my antenna to make me think, well, can they really reinvent the fintech, finance, banking, loan industry? If they can't even just, what I would like propose is just watching out for their investors who are asking pretty straightforward, legitimate questions, I think. If they can't just get that right, can they reinvent the industry and really effectively knock down all the dominoes that they would have to do what they say they want to do? I don't know. But that's the feeling that it leaves me with. It concerns me, to be honest. So, thank you to the person who sent this along. And I laugh because I want to cry. But again, more to come in part 2. There might be a part 3. I don't know if this is interesting to anyone else. Maybe it's just an exercise in mental health for myself to kind of go like, well, how did we get here at this moment? This seems crazy making. Is this as crazy making as it seems? And that's why I just wanted to unpack it and be like, what has happened in the last few weeks or even just a couple of months that is making this seem crazy for maybe not any great reason? And so this is an effort in unpacking that. Now, tomorrow, my Thursdays are always very, very tight days. I don't think I'll have time to do part 2 tomorrow, but I would plan to do part 2 on Friday. So if you hated this, you can watch tomorrow's video, most likely feeling secure that you won't have to deal with this. And then you can just watch the first half of Friday's video if you want. But if you did find this interesting, I would love to hear about it in the comments. But it was weird. It was weird just going through and screenshotting things, to be honest. All right, well, I hope that you are having a good trading week. Maybe you are now after today. I don't know, but I certainly hope so. And we'll see what tomorrow brings. All right, well, that'll do it for this one. I will see you in the next video.